Welcome, welcome, welcome. Happy Sunday. I am Layne Dalfen here with a wonderful topic that, of course, we've had on the show before, but now we get to see a whole new flavor of what this subject of dreams, which is so popular to everybody who listens in. Why? Because I know you've called in, you've written, you've asked before when we've had prior dream shows to repeat them. And so now we're very excited to bring you a brand new show, really getting a grounded point of view about dreams and why they make such a big difference in our lives. And we are so grateful to have Layne Dalfen. And did you hear that? I said Layne. This is the first time ever to have somebody else named Layne on the show. So Layne Dalfen is here from Montreal, Quebec. She is going to tell you herself. She's got such an incredible bio that I couldn't even begin to tap into it. She's been doing this a long time. She's a true pro. She's got many things to share with you, including her books, and I'm just going to get right into it because we have a lot to cover today. So welcome to the show, Layne. I'm so glad to have you here and to talk about this deeper discussion about dreams.
Thank you so much for inviting me, Layne.
Yeah, thank you. So I was telling you off air, our very eclectic group of enlightened, awakened beings, people who are really looking for some of these greater messages and the clues hidden beyond, and the looking into knowing that the unforeseen or the non-visible really has messages. So this topic today fits right into that genre. And we also talked about how sometimes people can go maybe over analyzing something, and today we're going to bring an approach that is very grounded in practical applications that will allow all of us to understand more. So I thought what we would do is just start off with a little bit of your background and how you got into this, because that's always one of my favorite questions to ask a guest is, did they wake up one day and say, I'm going to be a dream analyst? Or what is the evolution of Layne Dalfen? And give us a little bit of your background.
Okay, very good. Well, I guess my initiation to dream analysis actually happened right through my childhood, because my late dad, he was the one that used to come to us at night. And so when I would have a nightmare, my dad never said something to me like, oh, that was just a dream, go back to sleep. He always encouraged me to tell him the nightmare, and then I would, and then he would say something like, well, now you're going to go back to sleep, and as you're falling asleep, I want you to say, bring it on, I'm going to have another nightmare. I'm going to have another nightmare. And so I was brought up with an appreciation for dreams, and I'm 66 today, and I have 4 lovely daughters. The first one was born just after my 21st birthday with Down syndrome. And not so long after, I became depressed, understandably, and I ended up in Freudian analysis with a brilliant doctor who was actually out of New York that had moved to Montreal. And so in my early 20s, I wasn't so well able to articulate my feelings, but I'm a person who's got terrific dream recall, and I always have, and I used to go into the sessions always with a dream, and he probably did about 80% of my psychoanalysis through dream interpretation. So my initiation to Freud was that I experienced him before I studied him. And because I'm a thorough kind of personality, I was studying at the Applied Human Science Department at Concordia University, where I actually lecture today. But back then, one of my professors said, wow, if you love Freud, you would love Jung, and you would love Frederick Perls. And so I enrolled at the Gestalt Counseling and Training Center, and through a certificate program, I learned how Perls looked at dreams, and then I studied at the Alfred Adler Institute. So I'm a style of person who has become very eclectic in my approach to dreams. I've been studying dreams for for 45 years. I opened up the Dream Interpretation Center in 1997. And I'll just tell you, Layne, what is the most important thing, that message that I could give to your listeners today. And that is that at the first level, because I'm not going deep yet, I'm a first things first kind of person, and at the first level, the dream is the conversation that you are having with yourself concerning a very specific current issue that you are attempting to problem solve this week. And the incredible news is that the dreams reveal the solution to the problems. And so understanding the language gives you the comfort, flexibility, and power in how to decide. You can decide how you want to react to a person or a situation.
Well, thank you for that, and thank you for that great intro. I was looking, when I was preparing for this interview, I was reading from your How to Have a Great Dream, the overview. There's two parts. Is it considered two books, or there's the overview and then there's the workbook?
I'm so happy you asked that question, because and I actually just changed it, so it hasn't quite switched over on Amazon yet.
Okay.
But the book that you see on Amazon, at least for this week until they switch the cover, it's called The Workbook, but that's not really the name. That is called Book 1, The Overview. And
right.
That's a small book that's like 114 pages, and I'm including the pictures.
Yeah.
Gives you the overview about what I do, which is mostly what we're talking about today. And the second book, Book 2, is got the same name, Have a Great Dream, but this time it's called A Deeper Discussion, and that is the book that I actually wrote 18 years ago. And the first book, The Overview, is a book that I only just wrote last year.
Well, let me just circle back, because what I wanted to mention in reading the overview is how you said right off the bat, the dreams are just like creating a puzzle. So the puzzling piece to me is, which I love puzzles, by the way, the puzzling piece to me is, why don't we remember our dreams when we wake up if we're supposed to be figuring out this puzzle? And why does it have to be a puzzle? I guess those are the questions before. I know we have a whole show today, but it's puzzling to me that we only recall only some of the dreams. We don't have, I tell people, even when I'm doing, tell me about that. And then I'll go,
Well, first I'll say that there's a physiological reason why we're not, why it's harder to remember. And that's because in the frontal lobe, the memory function is inactive during REM. So there's a physiological reason why you don't remember, but there are ways to increase dream recall. And since the dream is the discussion that you're having with yourself, you're having that discussion and you're problem solving, and you're going to figure out that you want to break off with that guy that you're going out with anyways, whether you remember your dreams or you don't remember the dreams. But once you remember them, if you increase your dream recall and you learn the language of understanding the metaphor, then you can absolutely propel your problem-solving skills. And just to give you a very quick example, is a woman who is dreaming that she's so excited because she's playing with a little puppy, and she has the puppy up on the table in front of her, playing with it, and all of a sudden the puppy poos all over her. And so the dream turned out to be about the fact that she was so excited about this new job that she landed, and a very short time after, within 10 days of working at that new job, she realized that the boss is an absolutely abusive guy, and he was pooing all over her, literally. And so what you do is you take the pictures and the metaphors in the dream. This is one way of finding the solution to the issue, and one way is to take the dream story out into waking life and imagine that it's really happening like that. And that's what I did. I asked the dreamer, if that situation actually happened to you, what would you do? And she said, I would take the puppy off the table right away, and then I would clean the mess up. And so that was the solution in her waking life, was to take the job off the table. and quit. So that woman would have quit her job anyways, but maybe it would have taken her a month or two longer to take care of business, where once she understood the puppy dream, it inspired her to quit right away. And that's very Adlerian. He would have said that the dream gives rise to an emotion which helps you move forward towards the goal. And in this case, the goal was to quit the job.
Beautiful. Well, what we're going to do today, as everyone's listening here, is talk about later on in the show some dreams, situations, or some just basic questions, or maybe they're a little deeper questions that people have written into us, listeners, and we're looking forward to sharing them. They're totally anonymous, and these are things that have just come up from people who've asked for some support. So we're excited about that. So right now we're going to just take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll have more with Layne Dalfen. You're listening to Zeta Global Radio. We'll be back in a moment.
In the depth of a spiritual ceremony, the heartbeat of the drum and shaking of the rattle bring you closer to a heightened state of awareness within. Experience the richness of nature's spirit drums. They are expertly and lovingly handcrafted with an infusion of sacred animal spirit and healing energies. Hand-stitched rawhide rattles used in sound healing, energy clearings, and journey work are filled with the powerful vibration of crystals such as amethyst, citrine, jade, and garnet. Purchase yours today by visiting naturespiritdrums.com. Zeta Global Radio listeners enjoy a special 10% discount when entering ZETA at checkout. For our international listeners, please visit the website on how you may purchase Nature Spirit drums and rattles.
Hi, Layne Savante here, and I'd love for you to visit my new Facebook page for my private tarot and oracle session readings called Intuitive Wisdom. That's IN2UITIVE Wisdom. Conscious strategies for manifesting a more harmonious life. Don't we all want to have that? Let's see what's in the cards for you as we look at what needs to be cleared, expanded upon, and evolved. There's a lot to explore when we take a deeper look inside ourselves. Well, I've already learned so much, and I've only had one segment. I don't know about our listeners, but Layne and Layne are here to help bring forward incredible knowledge for all of you to take in. So Layne's going to continue on with really getting to the essence of what everybody needs to know, not the specifics, that's later on in the show for the listeners who wrote in, but really some guidelines that all of us should know in general in learning how to interpret and analyze our dreams better, Layne. So go for it.
Okay, well, I guess this is another backdrop that everybody needs to understand about what I'm doing, and that is that when we're born whole. You come into the world with a plethora of possibilities. You have everything when you come into the world. You have the ability to be selfish, to be giving, to be shy, to be assertive, to be happy, to be sad, to be heroic, to be chicken. You have everything. And the people that bring us up, and I don't mean to fault anybody, it's just the natural way, the people that bring us up teach us that it's more cool to be one way than another way. And so, for example, I can give you a couple of different examples. One is that if you grew up in a family with siblings, you probably got the message that it's not okay to be selfish, because you hear sentences like, go look after your sister, share your toys with your brother. And so you get the message that it's not okay to be selfish, and you become what Frederick Perls called over-invested in certain aspects of your personality and under-invested in other aspects. And so if you grew up as an only child, you're okay about taking care of yourself, because you don't have to share your time with your parents, and you don't have to look after your brother or things like that. And that person is somebody that's more comfortable as an adult. That part of their personality is more exercised about feeling relaxed, about paying attention to themselves. And the people who grow up with siblings that get that message that it's not okay to be selfish, those are the people that sometimes turn into those of us who have difficulty saying no. And so I know a dreamer who I was talking to recently, who dreamt that he was climbing up a huge ladder, and all around him there's papers filled up everywhere. And at the top of the ladder is a guy who he used to go to school with years ago, encouraging him to come up to the top of the ladder. And the dream turned out to be about the fact that this dreamer had so much work on his desk, and his friends had been inviting him to go out with them, and he wasn't paying attention. He wasn't saying no. He didn't know how to say no. And so the aspect of his personality, I asked him about the friend that he used to go to school with that's at the top of the ladder, using a symbols point of entry, because that's what you do. They're like puzzle pieces. And if one piece doesn't work, you try another piece. And this is using a symbols point of entry. I asked him, why don't you tell me the first few things that come to your mind when you think about that friend? And he said he was such a selfish kind of guy. He was, actually, what he said was he was a take care of me first kind of person. And that is the part of the dreamer that that part of his potential, I call it, part of his personality that Jung would have called his shadow, that he wants to get more in touch with, because that's who's encouraging him up the ladder, the part of him that needs to learn to say no. I'm sorry, I want to go out with you guys to a movie tonight, but I can't because there's too much work on my desk. So you see, the dream at the first level is about the fact that his friends invited him to a movie and he's having difficulty refusing. And on a deeper level, it's about where the dreamer comes from. And this whole thing that I'm talking about, it's all about for me personally, it's the same thing as going to the gym. You start exercising a muscle, and when you use a muscle you haven't used before, it hurts. And it takes a few days to get used to using that muscle, and in these kind of situations it could take months or years. But the fact that you start exercising some sleeping aspect of yourself puts you in a very powerful position, because that dreamer, once he starts exercising that part of himself, he can then pick and choose in different situations that come to him when he wants to say yes and when he wants to say no. And it's not a knee-jerk reaction anymore.
Question for you. Thank you. You did bring up the point about the shadow, which led me to wonder. So, of course, a lot of us deal with the shadow. A lot of us know that the shadow is also that ego part of us. Is the dream state where we're actually able to have better dialogue with our own ego aspect?
Usually the ego or yourself, you take the part in the dream that you feel the most connected to, and that you play the part that you feel the most comfortable with, and you give out all these other parts of yourself to people, places, and things that are happening in the dream. Like I spoke to another dreamer who's dreaming that she's being chased by a rhinoceros, and so she's connected to the part of her that's running away, and and then she's disconnected from this powerful part of herself. But you wouldn't be dreaming about a rhinoceros unless you have that potential inside you. And for me, there's no such thing for me as right or wrong or good or bad. For me, it's all about appropriate or inappropriate. Am I responding to today's situation in the most appropriate way? And for this woman, the situation that she was facing, which is she's pulled, literally, that's why you see a polarity in the dream of the person who's running away and the powerful rhinoceros on the other side. And that's because she is indecisive about her work situation, that on the one hand she wants to become very well known, and on the other hand she's got that careful what you wish for thing, because she's running away from it all at the same time. And so she needs to want to connect a little bit closer with that powerful rhinoceros part of herself. So you're not gonna become like a powerful rhinoceros overnight, but you do start exercising that part of yourself, especially if you realize that the over-invested part of yourself is more connected to running away and being afraid.
Got it. I'm a big believer in spirit and animal totems. I don't know if that's something that you incorporate into your work. I just thought I'd touch on that because as soon as you said rhinoceros, like when I have my own dreams and I'm dreaming about a specific animal and then I see them in real life and I'm seeing them over, I'm like, what is that message that totem's saying? And of course, this goes back to Native American principles from the year one. But I wondered how that plays into the work that you do.
Well, for me, most of the time, I like this is what I know for sure, and that's why one of the reasons why I wrote the two Have a Great Dream books. I wrote them because those dictionaries are ridiculous, the dream dictionaries, because what happens is you store every single memory and association that you've ever had since you're born is stored in this incredible database, or for those of us that are over 50, I call it a filing cabinet. That's called your unconscious. And when you want to say something to yourself today, this database or filing cabinet opens up, and all the memories and associations, which are so unique to each of us, it opens up, and that's why it's very hard to tell another dreamer what their dream is about, because all we can do, we're so unique, each of us, as a fingerprint. And so in order to respect the dreamer, we need to acknowledge that all we can do is project from our own associations and our own feelings. So what a rhinoceros means to one person doesn't necessarily mean that it's the same thing for another person. And so that's really what the database is about. But it's also true that Carl Jung, and I love Carl Jung so much, he also talks about, universal images that bring up something in all of us, like teeth falling out, for example. That all of us in the human race, our teeth fall out when we're around 6 or 7 years old, and it's something that's absolutely unavoidable. So one person might be dreaming about her teeth falling out, a woman I'm thinking of, because she knew that the relationship that she was in, intuitively, she wasn't facing it in her waking life, but her intuition and her interior knew that that thing was inevitable. It was about to come to an end. And so she's dreaming about teeth falling out because something that is the inevitable and is out of her control was in the near future. And so the dreams were preparing her for the eventuality of the boyfriend, of ending the relationship with the boyfriend. We use images that, and someone else might dream about their teeth falling out because they're holding in something that needs to be said. And I call this section of my conversation, Welcome to the Human Race, because we humans are adept in our waking life at hiding, lying, avoiding, and sweeping. But your unconscious mind never lies to you. And so whatever it is that you're avoiding during the day, I promise you, your dream is going to give you it's going to give you like a plastic baseball bat to hit you over the head and remind you that there's some issue that you need to be talking about in the daylight, and the dream will give you those messages.
Well, that's a great, we're going to take a break, and I want to touch on exactly this leading into the next segment. And I just wanted to say personally that I have my own tarot intuitive business, and I've been reading people for 30 years, and I tell people all the time, I could pull these same 92 cards, and this one card can have one picture on it for 1,000 different clients, and those will all have a different meaning depending on what is meant for them. So I really relate to that. But we're going to take a quick break and come back and get right into it, and then also bring up some of these basic questions that people have asked. These are generalities on our next segment, as well as some specific topics that people have written in. You're listening to Zeta Global Radio. We'll be back in a moment.
Isla Mujeres is a Caribbean jewel off the coast of Cancun. Castilito del Caribe warmly invites you to enjoy our spectacular oceanfront villa located in the heart of El Centro and a short walk to Playa Norte, which is ranked one of the top 10 beaches in the world. With an ocean view of crystal-clear turquoise waters overlooking both the Caribbean and Cancun city skyline, we offer a fabulous location for you to enjoy all the peace and tranquility you're looking for on vacation, while also taking in all the excitement the island has to offer, with activities either in walking distance or a golf cart day excursion away. Please visit CastilitoCaribe.com, www.CastilitoCaribe.com, and be sure to mention ZGR to receive a complimentary round-trip airport transfer for up to 4 people. We look forward to seeing you soon. The Holistic Chamber of Commerce in Southwest Florida now has chapters in Cape Coral, Fort Myers, and Naples. If you have a holistic business or practice and want to network with like-minded beings in the medical and healing arts, natural and eco-living and spiritual communities, you're welcome to come to a meeting and see what we're all about. For more information, please visit www.holisticchamberofcommerce.com and select your nearest city. We look forward to seeing you soon.
Conscious businesses, do you have a powerful prayer, meditation, affirmation, audiobook, or music that you're ready to bring to the global stage? Have you considered taking your enlightened gifts to the next level by recording them professionally so the world can hear your knowledge and wisdom? Enlightened Audio and Sound is your production source for taking your talents and making them and you known all over the planet. Record in a magical setting with the expertise of renowned music engineer, composer, and recording artist Howard Merlin Wolkin. Will not only assist you in developing a concept that can be recorded with top-level commercial quality, but will also assist you in bringing your media asset to market in a variety of mediums, including digitally to iTunes, Spotify, Amazon, and thousands of more outlets. To learn more, visit our Facebook page, Enlightened Audio and Sound, about bringing your business and career to new heights. Welcome back. I'm so excited about what I'm learning here today. I hope you are too, that I've already forgotten where we left off, but it's important though that we get as much time in with Layne as possible. And I appreciate all of you who've written in, who've asked some questions and want to know have their own dreams, and then there's some basic ones. And I'm wondering, Layne, if there's like you said something about the teeth falling out, and I wonder, are there sort of like, and I've asked this on other shows before, some generalities that people have, and I know a few even wrote to me, I'm like, I've heard that before, which is dying in your dream, or you can't die in your dream, or dying in your dream. Let's just go with that one.
I had a news anchor in New York say to me on air that she dreamt that she fell out a window of a large building and hit the ground, and then she saw herself get up and walk away. And that was a comment about that dreamer, that she is a style of personality that when she hits rock bottom, she knows how to pick herself up.
Wow.
Yeah, so it always depends on what's happening for the dreamer that particular week. It's funny, I'm also reminded of something you were talking about before the break with animals, and I wanted to point you to the fact that for me, for example, I don't really like cats. I find them aloof and independent is the right way to say it. I'm more of a dog kind of person. So when I when I dream about a cat, what I'm wanting to do is I'm looking at who in my life this week is behaving in a particularly aloof and independent way, and I'm not feeling comfortable with it. Or is the cat the solution to the issue because it's me that needs to access my ability to be more aloof and independent? And if my daughter, Emma Jo, if she dreams about a cat because she's highly allergic to them and she absolutely adores them, and so she might dream about a cat if she's going out with a guy who she thinks she's in love with and he's really not very good for her. And that would be her intuition calling her to pay attention to the appearance of a cat in her dream.
Okay, so with that said, so people can die in their dream, or it's not true that they wake up just before they're about to die.
I even dreamt once that I died, and after I died, I remember that it was more about my hearing being gone, and my hearing was gone because there was stuff going on in my life that I really didn't want to hear about. Mm-hmm. That's why you try these different at Have a Great Dream. I'm always talking about the different, I call them points of entry, that you can use to uncover why you had that dream last night, and then I have other sets of points of entry that you can use to help you uncover what the solution looks like when it comes in the form of a metaphor.
I love that. It, kind of going along the lines of that same last question, question also related to that is, if you are being diagnosed in your dream with an illness, does that mean you actually have that illness in real life, or it's something you got to pay attention to? That's a question that's came in.
Well, you always want to pay attention to your dreams, definitely, and sometimes there's a double meaning there, that there's something that's pointing you to an issue that's happening in your life, and all at the same time something else is being pointed to. And that's the whole thing, is that the dreams, we are so sophisticated and we are using such a small part of our brain. And so my particular take on the unconscious and the dreams is I am looking at it from a problem-solving perspective, but that doesn't mean that there isn't so much more going on. For example, I was brought up in a home with European parents, European-style parents, and my father actually was a European. And so in my house of family of origin, I couldn't, and my father was an absolute doll, but he had such a temper. And so I couldn't look at my father when I was 7 or 8 years old and he was yelling at me and say to him, "Excuse me, but I don't really like how you're talking to me right now," because I would have ended up in my bedroom. And so I learned to become under-invested in speaking up and over-invested in shutting up. So my knee-jerk reaction was not to speak up. And I remember when I was around 40, I was having a series of kneeling dreams where I'm always fine. I'm getting around fine on my knees until I was at the lower campus of a university in Asheville, North Carolina. And when I woke up, and it started snowing, and I couldn't get up the stairs. And when I woke up I said to my husband, I was trying to get to the upper campus, and I couldn't stand up. And using a pun and play on words point of entry, because he knows the method now, my husband said to me, "Why? Who are you having trouble standing up to?" And
that's awesome.
You see, and then the next day I had a dream that I was kneeling in the office of a guy whose name is Neil. And that Neil, that man, he pointed me straight to my brother, because he's a business associate and friend of my brother, and it was my brother who I was having trouble standing up to. And then about 2 weeks after the dreams, the kneeling dreams, I had a knee dislocate. a kneecap dislocate. So that's what I'm talking about, that, the kneeling,
Well, it's paying attention to what...
But it was also giving me a message that I was having problems with my knee.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Well, and I have to say, I love the book and the workbook. And here, when I was in college, philosophy and logic was my favorite course. I loved the formulas. I loved how everything made sense. And I love how you walk through, for people, like you said before, with the puzzles, how you really explain that there is a method to everything, and it's not, some of us spiritual people are so, we're out there and everything's so airy-fairy, and I say that with love because I'm exactly that person. But then being fundamentally looking at some of this is so grounding. It's like, just like you said in the beginning of the show, that there's an absolute reason why we don't remember our dreams. Here's where a piece comes up, and it's a big subject, of course, when we start talking about our loved ones who have passed. Obviously, that's a big topic, and people always want to know, why are they not coming to me in my dreams, or what does it mean? That's a big topic, as you know.
Yeah, and this is the most beautiful question. Your timing, oh my goodness, your timing is impeccable, because you don't know this, but while you were talking, I was already a step ahead of you, thinking about my dad and wanting to say to you that when I go away, I have 4 daughters and 2 granddaughters and a lovely husband, and when I go away on a business trip, I might dream about my late father, and that's because on a psychological level, I need to tap into the aspect of my personality, that male business side of me that gets on the plane and goes away from the family, as opposed to me dreaming about my late mom, who is the aspect of my personality that's the nurturing mom, Bubby, that's part of that part of myself. So if I'm dreaming about my dad before I go on a business trip, that's the psychological reason. I'm tapping into that energy that I need to get on the plane and leave the family. But how do you and I know that that's not actually also my dad visiting me? It probably is. Probably is. And that's what I think is happening. I think we are so sophisticated that we are multitasking. And I in the bigger book that is book 2 of Have a Great Dream, I talk about stuff like that, and that I really don't think that the people that are departed, just because we can't see them, it doesn't mean they're not there. The same way as when you're carrying a baby in the womb, it doesn't mean that even though the baby can't see the cars and the planes and the people talking and everything that's going around in the world all around them, just because they can't see it, it doesn't mean that we're not all here.
So true. Yeah. Oh, goodness. I'm loving this. Okay, so in now kind of moving into that, one of the questions people asked, because they really want to remember their dreams, they really want to have a specific, I'd like to bring in that person who's passed or whatever it is, canned foods or essential oils or any particular prayer, is there things that we can do? Like you said, it's like working a muscle, as you mentioned earlier. Are there specific things that we can do that will kind of allow that state of being and remembering to occur even greater for us?
Right. Well, I guess, and this comes straight to you from Sigmund Freud. It's all about intention. Intention is the most key and most important thing. And so you can incubate, as you're falling asleep. And here's the most wonderful image that I want to share about, as you're falling asleep, to close your eyes and breathe and relax and imagine the top of your head opening up like almost a periscope, looking around and calling to the person that you love that you'd like to see. And just that imagery about just looking for that person and calling them. And sometimes that works just so nice. It really does.
Wow. Okay.
And you can also incubate a solution to an issue that's bothering you. You can also incubate, like while you're falling asleep. If something makes you feel very anxious, maybe you can fall asleep thinking about that issue, which you probably are anyway, but you can just tap into that feeling, and you can ask your higher self to give you a dream in metaphors that are easy for you to understand.
Beautiful. All right, more with Layne Dalfen. When we come back, we have one more segment and a couple case studies that we're going to touch on, and then how you can get more time with Layne yourself. You're listening to Zeta Global Radio. Be back soon. Trice Massage Therapy and Skincare is Southwest Florida's premier holistic and wellness spa to relax and rejuvenate your well-being. Founded by Lucille Trice, this enlightened haven located in Cape Coral offers a variety of massage therapies including Swedish, deep tissue, and trigger point massage. Trice offers detoxifying body wraps and facials using natural organic ingredients to pamper your skin and restore balance and health. Visit their Trice Massage Therapy and Skincare Facebook page or call 239-672-0526 and book your experience today. Mention ZGR and receive a complimentary ionic foot detox experience.
Spiritual Communities Network, where we honor the uniqueness in our oneness. Visit our website to meet our vast spiritual community of healers, therapists, conscious events, and activities. Visit and check out our directory, upcoming retreats, workshops, products, free videos, and much more. Many services are available globally by phone, Skype, and other sources of media. You'll also find more information on how you can be a member to promote the work you're doing in the world. Visit us now at spiritualcommunitiesnetwork.com.
Welcome back to Zeta Global Radio. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Please share this on Zeta Continuum. Subscribe to it. Let people know about it. All of our shows, when you subscribe, you are able to be automatically notified when we have a new wonderful show every week right in your box. So please share this wonderful information. And of course, we will talk more at the end of the show about how to spend more time with Layne Dalfen yourself and get her wonderful books. Somebody wrote in this story, Layne, and she, well, I won't say she or he, but anyways, they said the following. Here's their dream. The dream is, I'm driving down a paved street, and suddenly it turns into brush and dirt road, and high grass everywhere, and gnarled trees, and it always runs into a dead end, and then I have to reverse my direction and try to get back to civilization, so to speak, and I can't find my way. And this is a recurring dream over and over for years on end.
Right, and the fact that, you're saying that it's happening over a period of years, that to me is a favorite expression. If you have a recurring dream that happens 7 times over the last 2 weeks, then that really is your unconscious mind taking a plastic baseball bat and trying to get your attention.
Sure.
And so that kind of recurring is the exact same thing as a nightmare. It's when your unconscious is successfully grabbing your attention. But when you have some images that happen over a period of years, then it's called a favorite expression. So if my favorite expression is, oh darn it, which is the nice version for radio.
We're not FCC regulated. You can say anything on my show.
Well, but if I could have said, oh darn it, 55 years ago because I missed the bus. And I could have said, oh darn it, 20 years ago because papers fell off my desk. And I could have said, oh darn it, about an hour and a half ago when I was worried if I had the correct number to call you. And so I'm always saying, oh darn it, oh darn it, oh darn it. It's the same expression, but the reason I'm using it is for completely different reasons over a period of years. So I can tell you that if this was my dream, I would have a dream like this about driving on a paved road when I think that I know what's going to happen about me or which direction I'm going in, and when I say which direction I'm going in, that could just as easily mean that I want to say something to one of my daughters, and I've decided what direction I'm going to take and what approach I'm going to have with her, except that suddenly the road turns into high grass, and it ends up in a dead end, and then I can't find my way. And that's kind of tells me that whatever situation is happening to me in my waking life, I thought I was going in a certain direction. It could be a job, it could be a relationship, it could be a host of different scenarios that happen over a period of years. But the point is, the direction I thought I was going in is not very clear anymore, and I'm feeling lost. And the dream the dreams all want to inspire you to discuss them during the day, because as soon as you're discussing something during the day, it's the same thing as letting air out of the balloon.
Mm-hmm. That's really powerful. I mean, just hearing that. And by the way, your recall is amazing. Obviously, you must have written down. But did you, I just read it to you. I mean, did you hear key words? Is this part of the process, or did you mean, or you took shorthand, or?
Dreamer is talking, and you'll see it in the book, because I even show you what a dream map looks like, so that you can see how to map your dream, and using the different points of entry. And yes, while you were talking, I was writing like a maniac, and I am always writing like a maniac, because you want to listen to the language of the dreamer. Like, my favorite point of entry is puns and play on words. And so that woman who said, "Oh, there were snakes all over the floor, I couldn't put my foot down," and it was because she was having trouble putting her foot down with her husband. Or the man who was dreaming that he had his hand down the carburetor, fishing inside watermelon rind, looking for a key, and the dream was that about him feeling in the pits. Get it?
Whoa. I love the pun. I love the puns. I love the play on words, the similes. I love all of this metaphor stuff.
It happens constantly in dreams, and that's why I'm always writing like a maniac, because the same way as my husband said to me when I said I couldn't stand up, and he said, "Why? Who are you having trouble standing up to?" Or the woman who said she was having trouble putting her foot down, and I was asking her, "Well, what do you think that's about?" This is kind of similar to those are fantastic examples about play on words and puns in dreams.
Well, in this particular instance that we just talked about, I couldn't find my way. I mean, that is a discussion. Are you finding your way, or is there another way? Because we don't know what the future holds. We don't know what life has planned, and we don't know what God or Spirit or whatever your higher power has in store. And I think it comes back to being present. I mean, I just got to bring in a few esoteric pieces here. It's about living right now, being here right now, and enjoying and loving and being in great gratitude of it, because we don't know all these things.
The most poignant part of the dream for me is that dreamer is aware, or getting very close to being aware, that whatever attitude they were having in that particular issue, they are acknowledging and realizing that the way they're traveling is a dead end. And on the subject of, I always talk about the real meat and overview about dream analysis is that you are spending this time looking in about changing and getting to know parts of yourself. And whatever amount of time that you are spending looking in, especially towards something that you can change about yourself, because you do have the power to change yourself, you are spending the exact same amount of time not looking out at trying to change somebody else, which you have absolutely no power in doing. Because if you're going to try and change somebody else, I promise you, you are going to hit a dead end. And you're just going to realize that you're having trouble finding your way. But when you're looking to your interior about trying to make find your better self and exercise all this different wonderful potential that you have and that you're born with. Once you're inside that headspace, it takes away from anger or disappointment that you might be feeling in somebody else, because everybody is just on their own path. And we only have the power to focus on our own path.
Yes. If more people knew what you just said, they would be in such a better circumstance. Like, just keep, I always say, actually my husband and I always say, just keep your side of the sandbox clean, or your lane, and don't worry about anybody else's, It's like, it's a common thing we say all the time. Well, thank you for that, and thank you to all the people who wrote in. We greatly appreciate you supporting this wonderful topic. So how can we learn more? We know we want to send people to Amazon for sure, and then we also want to send them to your website. And then do you do workshops or classes? Just tell them how we can learn more about you, Layne.
Oh, yeah. If you go to haveagreatdream.com, which is the same name as my books, you can, and I'm repeating just for the next couple of days anyway until Amazon reloads the covers, that the book that's called the workbook, that's the overview, book number 1. And the second book is just called Have a Great Dream, same as my site. If you go there, there's all kind of things that you can do at my site. You can book private consultations. You can buy the book on Amazon or off my site. We'll direct you to everywhere that it's for sale.
Excellent. Wonderful. Okay, well, we're just about done. Any last minute takeaways that you want to leave our listeners with for this wonderful topic that we're sharing here today?
Well, I would tell you, if you want to do free dream analysis with me, or you can do that by asking for a dreaminar. And a dreaminar is similar to a seminar, except it's a dream, and I do it live on YouTube. So if you're willing to go live with me online, you can check out some dreaminars that have been done. Actually,
I've done it. I watched them.
Oh, did you?
I loved it. Yes. The one who's on your website, you have, it's so, you're on one side and she's on the other. I watched that one that was on the front page, or I watched the beginning of it, yeah.
That's great. So there's some examples that you can watch, and it really gives you the lessons of how to do it yourself.
Love it. Well, I just love it. All right, well, thank you for being here today, and best of luck with this incredible set of books, and hopefully we'll have you on the show again as time goes on. Again, we have said over and over that this is just one of those topics, as you probably know, because this is what you do for 40 years, that people just... it seems like there's continuous information that needs to be shared as we learn. And of course, there's people in the spiritual worlds who are always trying to access the other side of the brains that aren't fully being utilized. Really, what percentage are we truly using? Is there an exact? Is it really 10% or? Wow. Well, yeah. Well, hopefully as we learn somehow to access more, we'll get more insight into this. So thank you for being here today. We really appreciate it, Layne, and it was just wonderful having you here.
And it's so fun that we have the same name. Thank you very much, Layne.
It's a delight. I love it. All right, everybody. Have a beautiful week. Layne, stay on the line here. And everyone else, we wish you a wonderful, wonderful time. Please share this with everybody and have a great dream. Take care.